One thing that we're all acutely aware of in the poker world is that we only have our good name.
How ironic to hear that from him, given the kind of scandal associated with his name. What happened to...
Honesty is the best hustle.
Howard Lederer may have once been an established and influential member of the poker community, but he is no longer one. He used to be at the top, but he's not always been there. Growing up in Concord, New Hampshire, Howard and his sisters Annie and Katie were raised in a family of academics that enjoyed playing social games of chance and viewed it as one of the ways in which the whole family could spend quality time together. And so, Howard and Annie Duke, another well-known professional poker player, learned to play cards at an early age, largely due to their father, Richard Lederer. Richard was a competitive character, and this trait quickly passed on to Howard and Annie. As Howard mentioned in many of his interviews, his father was the main reason he was interested in games of chance and strategy. From an early age, Lederer was a keen chess player and spent most of his time playing the game, while card games would be something he would excel in later in life. His first love was chess. In his late teens, he moved to New York to study at Columbia University, where he discovered some of the biggest chess clubs in town, the Marshall Chess Club and the Manhattan Chess Club. It was at these clubs that Lederer learned poker. He eventually stopped his academic career in order to become a professional chess player. While Lederer was trying to become a pro chess player, he searched for the best opponents to sharpen his skill. And during one of the visits to the local chess club, he stumbled upon the famous Mayfair Poker Club in New York. This famous club, which also produced other great poker players such as Dan Harrington and Eric Seidel, was the reintroduction to poker that Lederer needed, and in particular he was introduced to Texas Hold'em, a game that was taking over the modern poker world. He decided to play poker out of curiosity and instantly fell in love with the game, and went on to pursue it as a way of making a living. Howard Lederer's chess rating could never reach his poker career level. Howard Lederer's rise to poker prominence included 2 WSOP bracelets, 2 WPT titles, and appearances on poker TV shows like High Stakes Poker. Anyhow, Howard soon became part of an elite group of players who formed at the Mayfair Club. This group would play poker all evening, and then after they finished playing, would all go off and drink at the bar, while discussing the evening's poker and discussing better strategies. Towards the end of the 80s, Howard was playing in high-stakes games and had outgrown the games he had been a regular at. So after learning poker in New York chess clubs, he soon graduated to underground NYC card rooms and eventually to Las Vegas. In Vegas, Lederer was able to move up stakes and find bigger action in the form of the big game, a high-stakes poker game in which many of the most famous names in poker, like Phil Ivey, Doyle Brunson, Jennifer Harmon, and Daniel Negreanu, regularly played. It was also around this time that he went on to teach his sister Annie Duke, who also went on to move to Las Vegas, together with her husband later that year. Annie had gone on to become one of the most successful female poker players of all time, and both Howard and Annie hold a record as the first brother-sister combination to make it to the same WSOP final table. By the early 90s, Howard was already playing the highest buy-in cash games in poker tournaments and building a reputation as one of the best poker players in the city. At this time, he earned his nickname, the Professor. The Professor's biggest poker achievements came after 2000. He won his first bracelet in 2000 after beating the field in the $5,000 limit Omaha High-Low event and earned $198,000. He then won his second WSOP silverware at the $5,000 Deuce to 7 draw event the following year and took home $165,870. The nickname of the Professor was largely given to Howard as a result of his analytical and mathematical approach to poker. In 2004, he became one of the founders, owners, and CEOs of Tiltware Incorporated, which owns Full Tilt Poker. Full Tilt Poker is an online poker site that was launched along with Chris Ferguson, Mike Matusow, Phil Ivey, and other poker celebs. The brand was an inescapable presence in the poker industry during its heyday from 2004 to 2011. However, all of that ended for US players on April 15, 2011, the day known as Black Friday in the poker industry. It was then that the US Department of Justice seized the domains of PokerStars, Full Tilt Poker, and Absolute Poker, the 3 largest online poker rooms serving poker players in the United States. The domains for the 3 main online poker sites have been seized by the U.S. Department of Justice, and pursuant to an investigation into conducting, financing, managing, supervising, directing, or owning all or part of an illegal gambling business, which is a federal crime. Initially, players were confused and, as to be expected, concerned with what would happen to their money, especially those who had 6 or even 7 figures online poker account balances. Full Tilt, however, assured its customers that their money was safe, and they had nothing to worry about. The reassurance turned to skepticism as time went on. Black Friday was apparently just the beginning of the brand's downfall. As it turned out, the professor himself was running Full Tilt Poker like a Ponzi scheme, where funds from regular players on the site were being paid out to the Full Tilt Poker owners, which then meant there wasn't enough money in the bank to pay the actual players. Still, Full Tilt Poker continued to operate in the rest of the world for a short time, under an agreement with the DOJ that all US players would be paid out in full on their frozen account balances. By June 2011, however, the majority of US players had not been paid back, and Full Tilt's operation was shut down entirely. The New York District Attorney's Office eventually ruled that Full Tilt was operating as a Ponzi scheme, and reports of misappropriated player deposit funds started to leak out to the poker community. In 2012, Full Tilt and PokerStars and the Justice Department reached a settlement agreement where Full Tilt forfeited all of their assets, which were then acquired by PokerStars, who turned around and paid the Justice Department $547 million as part of the settlement, and another $184 million to international poker players as part of the money they were owed. When Poker News made an extensive interview with Lederer in 2012 called the Lederer Files, he shared in full detail what had transpired. At the end of one part, as there are several of them, Howard said,
"As an owner of Full Tilt Poker, I took and I take full responsibility for what happened. And what happened wasn't right, and it caused a lot of pain, a lot of suffering.
After that, he said,
That wasn't right, and for that I'm truly sorry."
Then in May 2016, he then published a statement of apology to the entire poker community, admitting his role and responsibility in the demise of Full Tilt. He wrote, "I'm writing to apologize to everyone in the poker community, especially to all the players who had money on Full Tilt Poker on April 15th, 2011. I take full responsibility for Full Tilt's failure to protect player deposits leading up to Black Friday." Nevertheless, it goes without saying that Lederer's reputation was tarnished due to his association with the Full Tilt Poker scandal. Many players felt betrayed by the company and its representatives, including Lederer. Howard Lederer's descent from being one of the most popular figures in poker to the most hated shows that everyone in poker faces the same consequences when accountability and integrity are involved. Still, not many players have been run out of town by the poker community. Even alleged cheats often find a way to keep playing. However, the collapse of Full Tilt Poker effectively ended Howard Lederer's poker career. Whose story would you like to see next? Let us know down below, and make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. We'll see you in the next one.